Hey guys, it's Kells here today. I'm back with the last day of the 7-day challenge where I come to you live with your emails that you send in to itskellscollective@gmail.com, where you send me your dating drama, your dating tea, your dating stories, anything you want me to talk about into my Gmail box. And I come on the live broadcast and read them live for you. You get my candid feedback, but not only my candid feedback, the feedback of everybody who's tuned into the live as well. So you not only get what I have to say about it, but you get the collective wisdom of the Kells community. So today is the final day of the 7-day challenge. I've come to you guys live 7 days in a row, and this is the second round of me coming to you guys live 7 days in a row because the first round you guys loved it, and I promise you that if I had good reviews, good views, good everything, feedback from the first round, that I would definitely come back and do it again. So we are at the end of the second round of the 7-day challenge, and we've had some really dope topics. This time around we talked about oh my god, I'm drawing a blank. We talked about so many things. This time around we talked about Black women dating standards. We talked about catfishing. That was a really good topic. We talked about a multitude of things, and you can find everything that we talked about in the It's Kells Collective playlist. So I put them all in a playlist, so you could pretty much just let them run and hear me ramble on about whatever dating topics we were talking about for that particular day. I know it's Saturday, and I know you guys are probably still a little upset with me about yesterday because yesterday I just popped on for a really quick 8 minutes to tell you guys to get out of the house. It's Friday night. You don't need to be in the house because I wasn't in the house. So that's all I talked about yesterday. But today we're going to get into some real deal breakers for first dates. We have a good email that I'm going to read to you guys, and then I'm going to give you what I think are major deal breakers, especially on a first date. And then I'd love to have you guys chime in and let me know what your deal breakers are, whether you're on the live or whether you're watching this after we've already finished the live broadcast, and you just chime in with your comments. The first thing I'm going to do though is ask you guys to hit the thumbs up button. The thumbs up helps me get noticed in this big crazy wide world of YouTube. So, and it also lets me know which of the topics you guys really like the best. And so once I figure out which topics you guys really like the best, then I can talk more about that. Or you can just send me an email and let me know what you want me to talk about, and I can talk about that as well. As you guys know, this has been a busy week for me. I have guests in town, so it's a little bit crazy finishing up the It's Kells Collective 7-day challenge, but I have been able to come on live 7 days in a row, so I'm really happy to not let you guys down in that sense. What I will probably do though is I'll probably continue on with the challenge, maybe 1 or 2 more days, depending on what the emails look like, because yesterday was like, and today is probably going to be a little short too. I'm going to actually get into an email today, which I didn't do yesterday, but I do have to be mindful of the time, so just bear with me. But you know, I always love to interact with you guys, so let me know if you can hear me, you can see me good. Jump in the comments and just announce yourself when you get in, and I'll give you a shout out. And we'll get into today's topic. All right. So shall we jump into the email? Let's just go ahead and jump straight into the email. All right. So the subject line of this email actually says Maya Angelou. And so I had to open it and just glimpse it a little bit to see what she was talking about to make sure it made sense. And it did. So she essentially was talking about what do I think are the major deal breakers when you go on a first date. So let's just describe what a deal breaker is. The deal breaker is something that is a hurdle that you can't get over, or an issue that you flag when you first on the first date, an issue that you flag with the person that you're on the date with, like, this is a red flag. I don't know if I could get over this. I don't know if I can and continue on the date with this. So that's essentially what a deal breaker is. After a deal breaker, you're like, nah, we can't go no further. Like, we cannot go any further. I don't think I can date you. And so just to be clear, that's what deal breakers are. So let's get into this email, shall we? Okay. So, oops, sorry about that. My laptop's down here. All right, it says, hey, Kells. Yet again, another great show. Love the comments to AM. Love the comments to, I don't know what AM is, Lord knows, living in Wisconsin. I have had one too many Matthew McConaughey's experiences. So annoying. So Matthew McConaughey, she's talking about the live broadcast that I did, that I said it was talking about dating coworkers, which was another really really popular live. If you haven't seen that live, go watch that one. So it was talking about dating coworkers and then interracial dating stories. So I gave at the end of that little talk, I gave a little. I told you guys a little story about this interracial. It wasn't a full on date, but this interracial experience that I had with some guy who was telling me that I need to be myself. And he looked like Matthew McConaughey. So if you haven't seen that live, go back and look at the one that says dating a coworker and interracial story time. That's what she's talking about, that she's had these Matthew McConaughey experiences, Lord, and she's living in Wisconsin, okay? All right. So one of my favorite TV shows is First Dates. On a recent episode from the UK, it featured a couple out on their first date in which the woman, who is clearly a thot, a thought, was out on a date with what appeared to be a genuinely good guy. He said he had been cheated on in the past, even though you could tell she was a thought. She had said in the pre-interview before the date she was looking for a good guy and wanted a change in the caliber of men she had been dating. She admitted to the guy she was out on the first date with, she admitted to the guy she was out on the first date with that she had indeed cheated on her exes. So I'm wondering if that's all exes or if that's just one ex. But she says she indeed cheated on her exes. So that sounds like every person this girl dated, she cheated on him. So, okay, I don't know. Belinda, who wrote in, you're going to have to clarify that for me. Anyway, the question from the show was, would you enter into a relationship with someone you knew cheated on their exes? In keeping with Maya Angelou's famous words, when people show you who they are, believe them. I would ask you and the collective, what is the deal breaker for you when you meet a person for the first time and are sizing him, her up for dating? What could someone say or do on a first date that would be a non-starter for love? Mine would be is if he is cheap, poor table manners, or if I see even a hint that he may be somehow on the down low. How about you? Belinda Joy. She says it's okay to use my name if you end up using this letter. Oh, Lord have mercy. Okay. So essentially, the reason why, so now I understand. So the reason why she named the subject line of this email Maya Angelou is because she was pointing to Maya Angelou's favorite quote that says, when people show you who they are, believe them. So she's wanting to know, the question is, would you enter into a relationship with someone you knew cheated on their exes? So, Valinda, I'm going to say that, let me start there with that question. So, I don't know if I was on a first date with someone, if I would go deep into trying to figure out if they've cheated on all of their exes. I know eventually it probably would come out in conversation, but I don't know if that's something that comes out. Do people just spill their guts like that? Do people just be like, oh yeah, by the way, I've cheated on every one of my exes. I've never actually been in a faithful relationship. I find that really, really, really hard to believe. And I feel like it's just something on this dating reality show that people spill. But in real life, cheaters don't be telling you that, oh, guess what? I don't know how to be faithful. You know what I mean? I find it a little bit far-fetched that would come out on the first date. But if it did, yeah, I kind of, hey Pam, if it did, I kind of would be a little bit weirded out by it, and I probably would have a huge, massive chip on my shoulder or a red flag, or a strike for this person, knowing that they're a cheater, and I probably wouldn't really take them seriously. But I just don't see how that would come out on a first date. So I think it was a little bit for the reality show, if anything. But if it did come out that somebody has never been in a serious relationship and always cheated on their exes, that I couldn't take them seriously. I definitely couldn't take them seriously. All right. So then she says, what is a deal breaker for you when you meet a person for the first time and are sizing him or her up? What could someone say or do on a first date that will be a non-starter for love? And so she lists out, she says cheap, poor table manners, and if they might be a little on a down low, right? And so I agree with her on that. If they are cheap, if I see, like, I don't, if I even get the hint that you're cheap or stingy as a man, I'm not really interested in going any further. So I agree with her on that. Poor table manners as well. Like, you got to be a little bit elegant, a little bit debonair or a little bit pulled together with some class for me to really, really, vibe with you like that. So I agree with her on that. And then she says, if I see a hint that he may be on the down low, oh Lord, that is like a hugely uncomfortable situation to be in, where you're out with somebody, or you checking at somebody, you checking for somebody, or they're checking for you, and you get the hint that they might be on the down low. And so basically she says, if they too effeminate, if they give her the vibes, if her gaydar goes off, she is a non-starter for her. And so I agree with all of those non-starter or those red flags when it comes to deal breakers on first dates. I think another, if I was to sit down and really think about it, I think some other deal breakers out of those that are mentioned would be like hygiene. If I find that your breath is kicking like Bruce Lee, or if, I feel like your hair is not trimmed up like it needs to be trimmed, or your beard is not, taped like it needs to be taped, or, if you have holes in your clothes. Remember the other day I was talking about coworker, pervert coworker, and how I should have followed my gut the initial time because he had a little hole in his suit and his shoes were a little beat up, and I should have I should have followed my gut reaction right away when I saw that. And so I would say that's the same thing. If your grooming is not on point, if your hygiene is not on point, if your teeth are not on point, it's gonna be a real hurdle to get over. I'll tell you something funny. In the UK, the UK is like notorious for bad teeth, and I used to think it was like a massive stereotype, but in the UK, teeth being perfectly straightened, like, and with braces, everybody got braces between the ages of 10 and 12 or whatever here, and teeth being whitened and teeth being perfect is a less is a less of an issue there than it is here. So you will see. I remember I used to be out and I would see these beautiful men in their well tailored European fit suits, tall, slender, graceful, elegant, and you're like, damn, who is that? Like, who is that? James Bond or something? And then when you get up close to them and they start speaking to you, and their teeth will be jacked. Their teeth will be legitimately jacked, and all I could do was laugh my ass off, because I'm like, oh my god, I thought this was just full stereotypes, that UK people's teeth were all messed up. But nah, when you're there, you do find a lot of well put together people, and their teeth are just not like how, to our standards, how we have here in the US, where we wanted you to have straight teeth. You better have some veneers. What was the first thing Cardi B did when she got a bag? Fixed her teeth. Like, that is the first thing that everybody who here in the States does when they get a little money. They teeth go from regular to like super bright smile. Gucci. Look at Gucci chiclets. He's smiling. He look like he got 100 teeth in his mouth, but it's the first thing. So I have to be honest. On a date, a deal breaker for me on a first date is if your teeth and your hygiene and your grooming is not where it needs to be, then it's probably going to be a little bit of a non-starter. Okay, so if you're just joining us, what we did was we just read Belinda Joy's email, and she was talking about first date deal breakers. And what she said was she was watching a show, and one of the daters on this dating show mentioned that they had cheated on every one of their exes. They never had a successful relationship that they didn't cheat on. And so she was asking us, would you enter into a relationship with someone you knew cheated on their exes? And then she gave the Maya Angelou quote, when people show you who they are, believe them. And I believe that quote actually ends with believe them the first time. And so she wants to ask the collective, what are deal breakers for you when you meet a person for the first time and are sizing them up for dating? So I'm going to ask you guys to jump in the comments and let me know, what are your first date deal breakers? What are your red flags on your first dates that once you see it in your mind, you checked out? You like, nah, can't do it. We just can't do it. So let me know in the comments. I see you guys here, but chime in. Let me know. And so I'll continue to let you know what my deal breakers are. Okay. So outside of the hygiene and the teeth and the smell, the breath, listen, your breath kicking, I can't do it. Like, we're not going to be able to do it. I also am very cognizant, and I don't online date, but this might come in the form of online dating, or it might come in the form of if you're being hooked up, like a blind date, like your friend is like, oh my God, I got somebody for you. He's great. George, Kelly, George, y'all go on a date, but you never really met him. And he doesn't look like what you expected. So whether that's if you're like online dating and their photos are like 20 pounds ago or 10 years ago, or if your friend hook you up and your friend's like, no girl, he tall, dark, and handsome, girl. He tall, dark, and handsome. And then when you go and meet him, he's short, brown, and thick, or something like that. So just like a misrepresentation of your physical looks, like you check out. You kind of like, it might not be intentional. You might be really still trying to get to know the person, but once you feel like you've kind of been misled with with the physicality of somebody or the attractiveness of somebody, I would say that's a deal breaker on a first date. I saw some comments coming in. Baby mama drama. Cam 123 Yahoo says, if they have baby mama drama, you're not into it. So what are you saying? That'll probably come out in conversation, right? So you're on the first date, everything's going good, and you start talking to them, and you find out that they on some hood rat ish. They got baby mama drama. They got a whole bunch of kids that you didn't know about that nobody mentioned. They got some parental drama. Their parents live with them, and everybody's struggling, and they're in this struggle life, and they need a therapist more than they need a boyfriend or girlfriend. These are like deal breakers for first dates, I would say. So I definitely agree about the baby mama. And then K123 says, talks really bad about baby mama. Exactly. Or what about if they talk really bad about their exes? Now, I know how sometimes, I don't know if you guys have ever heard, like when you go on a interview, and one of the tips of interviewing is like, if you go on an interview, don't ever talk bad about your former boss. Don't ever talk bad about your former boss, even if they were a tyrant. Don't talk bad about them, because as soon as you start talking bad about your former boss, the person that's interviewing you is gonna be like, you probably were the problem, or they're gonna be like, nah, I don't want anybody who's gonna talk bad about me. So I think the same thing goes with exes. If they're talking bad about their baby mama or their baby daddy, or if they're talking bad about any of their exes, about, oh, all my exes crazy, them B's be this, them H's be this. Soon as they start talking bad about people in the past of their life, red flag, deal breaker. Because if that's the type of people that they're attracting, that's them. You know what I mean? If all of their exes are crazy, what's the common denominator though? Who's the common denominator though? That's you. That's crazy. You know what I mean? So I agree with you, Kane. Definitely a red flag. So going back a little bit more, what are the red flags, the deal breakers, the non-starters for love on first dates? What about bad grammar and cursing? What if they always dropping some F bomb or some B or some H or some ass or some, you know what I mean, or some kind of curse words, and they don't have much elegance to them or much, intellect when it comes to stringing their sentences together. I don't want to be embarrassed. I don't want to be on a date with somebody and have to be like, oh, cringe. Lord have mercy, what they gonna say now? Or Zester says cursives no problemo, so you don't mind if they cursing up a storm, or if they're real loud and kind of ghetto and they want to call the waiter, hey, waiter, hey, can you bring some water, or nah? What is it, because I'm black? Like, I can't stand that ghetto mess. Now, mind you, I've never seen that in real life. I've only seen it like on TV, like in the movies when they show like people having these ghetto dates, and then the person is super loud at the table, or the person is super belligerent to the server. That's a deal breaker for me. That is a deal breaker for me. You have to have good manners. I like class about a guy, and some of these things, like, they show up right away. And as Belinda Joy says, Maya Angelou says, when people show you who they are, you kind of have to believe them the first time. Okay, so Belinda's asking us, what are non-starters, what are deal breakers, and what are some things, what non-starters love? And she says, just as a reminder, check please, like, excuse me, I'm ready to go. She says, mine would be if he's cheap, if he has poor table manners, and if there is even a little bit of a hint of him being on the down low. Okay, so if a guy's on the down low, what does that look like? That's the question that I would want to ask Belinda. Is like, how do you know if a guy's on the down low? Is it what, how he speaks, how he moves? What exactly tells you that, or what he's talking about? You know what I mean? Is he too sassy? If he got too much like wiggle when he talk, how do you know if a guy? She says if he has a small hint of being on the down low. Okay, that's. I mean, she. I know if people in Atlanta, that's something that they talk about a lot. Is like, be careful who you date. Be careful who you date in Atlanta, because there's a lot of guys that are kind of on the down low and they're looking for jackets or women to kind of pretend to be in relationships with, but really not in a full on relationship with them, just using that as a cover up to their real, gay relationship. So I know in Atlanta, they're very hyper vigilant about that. But Belinda lives in Wisconsin, but she seems to have some little expertise with that. So I would just want to know what makes you think, like, how do you, what are some tips, or what are not tips, but like what are some kind of small indications that somebody might be on the down low? That's interesting. Poor table manners, we talked about the hey waiter, hey and all of that, or why we not getting no service, or speaking very loudly, or speaking with a lot of curse words that you kind of cringe when they talk, or the table next to you is hearing your real ignorant conversation. That's a little bit of a deal breaker, like, non-starter as well. What about tipping? What about if you have to catch a cab with them, or what about if you have to go to dinner with them and you notice that they are a horrible tipper, like they do not tip properly, and so they're coming off as cheap, or they're coming off as stingy, or something like that? Is that a deal breaker for y'all? I mean, those are things that I pay attention to, so I wouldn't necessarily say it's a full on deal breaker, but or a non-starter, as Belinda puts it, but it's definitely something I notice. Zeester says, "Hey, tipping, slow your roll, madam. Listen, broke men should not be taking ladies on dates. If you ain't got the money for the food, the drinks, and the tip, don't ask somebody out. Like, simple as that. Like, we talked about these standards on my channel all the time. If your standards are low, this ain't the channel for you. Or if you don't know your role, then this ain't the channel for you." All right. So, what else are deal breakers on first dates? Okay, what about slow conversation? What if they're like real slow? It's like just a whole bunch of awkward silence. That's weird, right? That's weird, right? So what about if it's a whole bunch of like awkward silences on the date? Or like the conversation doesn't flow. What is that an indication? Is that an indication that the person is just shy, and maybe you should chill and like help them warm up to you? Or is that an indication that the person is boring and you just wasting your time because they're boring? Or is that an indication that there's no chemistry? And that God, you met them online, or somebody hooked y'all up and you thought it was gonna be dope because their picture or their profile read really nice, and you're like, yeah, this person cute, and then you get on the date and it's a whole bunch of awkward silence. The chemistry's off. You know what I mean? And which is why I always encourage you guys to go out and meet people in person. I'm not a huge advocate for online dating. I do not like online dating. You guys did jump on me in the last video that I said that in, saying, "Oh, I have success on online dating. I like online dating." And so I can't knock it too much if you guys are actually having success with it. Are you guys having success with online dating? Jump in the comments right quick and let me know. Do you online date, and do you have success with it? But I say that to say online dating always is kind of a little bit of a disappointment, because when you're online dating and when you read the profile, you might think, "Oh, yo, this is gonna be dope. I think I'll have a lot in common with them. Plus, they look good. Plus, they're 6'1". Oh, he's thin. Oh, she's thin. Her body. Oh, look at her booty." Everybody puts their best picture, the thinnest, sexiest angle, like, yes, I'm slaying picture on their profile, their dating online dating profile. And then when you meet them in person, it could be dead silence, crickets. You know what I mean? So, what about conversation? That's really important to me. It's like somebody being able to keep the conversation flowing and keeping it light, and not making it too like interviewee or professional. We talked about that on a past on I think on one of our most recent lives, where we were talking about how to get your sexy back, dating tips for middle-aged folks. And so we talked about not making it so professional, like interviewee. So what about if what if it's like super interviewee and you can't get the conversation to be anything sexy or fun or interesting, or anything to talk about that makes your heart skip a beat? What if you can't turn the conversation out of this really businessy way? That might be a little bit of a deal breaker. Yeah. So I'm going to jump in the comments because I see you guys' comments coming in. So let me see what you guys are saying. Today we're talking about red flags, deal breakers on first dates. What are some deal breakers, some non-starters on a date? And you see this, you know right away that it ain't gonna happen. It's really not gonna work. For Belinda Joy, who wrote in, she was saying that cheap table manners and a man on the down low, a man who's actually gay or pretending to be heterosexual, those are her deal breakers for her, as well as somebody who reveals that they a cheater, that they never been in a relationship where they didn't cheat on an ex. And I was saying those were Belinda's deal breakers, but I was or red flags, non-starters for love. And I would say that if somebody reveals that they're a cheater, who reveals that like on a first date outside of somebody on a reality show? Because she was referencing a reality show that she was watching where she saw this. So I feel like outside of a reality show, nobody's really gonna be like, by the way, I've never been faithful in a relationship. Like I just don't see that happening. Have any of you guys seen that happen in real life, or somebody revealed something about themselves that you were like, "Ooh, it ain't gonna happen"? Some of us earlier we were talking about baby mama drama. Like if they start talking ill of their past relationships, saying that, "Ooh, all my exes is crazy." What does that mean? That's like a red flag, or they talk about bad about their baby mama, or what if they talk bad about their family or their friends, or you notice that they're super super gossipy, talking about everybody, like, oh my god, look at them over there on that table. Why he with her? Why she with him? If they start like gossiping about the people in the place, what does that mean? Does that give you like any indication of how they're going to be in relationships with you, or is that a deal breaker, or is that just somebody making conversation? And how do you differentiate between somebody making conversation and just trying to be funny, or somebody who's petty, or somebody who's gossipy, or somebody who's into drama, or somebody who doesn't necessarily have maybe as much class or something like that? We also talked about those who can't string a sentence together without some cuss word busting inside the sentence. And then you have to be cringing when they're talking to you because you afraid the table over there is hearing how many F bombs and MFers they're dropping. Are those deal breakers, or is that just somebody having personality? All right, so I'm gonna pause right there and I'm gonna jump in the comments to see what you guys are talking about as it relates to deal breakers on the first date. Let's see. Small smile 360 says, I haven't dated ever, but possessive behavior. Okay, so possessive behavior might be a deal breaker. What's funny about that is I talked about that in the dating a coworker, pervert coworker, stalker coworker video that we did this week on the 7 day challenge. I think it was day 3 or day 4, where I was out with that coworker, that crazy coworker that I had no business being on a date with. We were on a lunch date, and how remember I told the story how the waiter was over there being nice and smiling up in your face because waiters working for their tips. So of course they're like, "Oh, can I get anything for you? How are you? How's it? You like that? Oh, that's my favorite." You know how they like kind of like talk you up a little bit because they're working for their tips. And how when the waiter left, homeboy was like, "Oh, so you like white guys?" And I was like, I've dated my fair share of white guys. What? He's like, oh, because it seemed like you and the waiter like had something going, or you and the waiter, you seemed like he was flirting with you, or you were flirting with him. I'm like, bruh, you are possessive and crazy. That waiter is working for his tips, and he's it's lunchtime and he's happy, and it was a little bit warm outside. So I was like, whenever you see some little red flags like that of possess, and that was on the first date that this man was telling me that, trying to check me about flirting with the waiter. And so that it was like a huge indication of possessive behavior. So that is a massive red flag and a turn off for me on the first date. That's like a deal breaker. I knew from then. Honestly, I knew from when I saw that hole in his suit that it wasn't gonna work. But I was still trying to not be too bougie. But somebody told me, I think Pam or Belinda or somebody said, "Girl, that's not bougie. That's just observant. When you see that, don't feel bad. Just be like, no, next." So that possessive behavior, I agree with you, is one of the things that is a massive like red flag or deal breaker for me on first dates. It's like an indication of things to come, possessive behavior to come. All right, let's see. Dan Danielle says, "Does size matter? No, but the size of your wallet does. Girls are too picky and run for the cash." Okay. I don't know what that means, but all right. Pamela says, "I've gone out on a date with someone who ordered a number 5 on a menu where there were no numbers. We were at Wolfgang's. That was the first and last date." Wait a minute. How was he trying to be funny? Like, how do you open a menu and say, "Can I get a number five?" Wolfgang Puck's, like that upscale restaurant, like the Source. We have one in DC. It's called the Source. It's by Wolfgang Puck. How do you go to Wolfgang and order a number five? He must have been trying to be funny, Pam. Was he trying to be funny? Because like, how do you do that? Like, when since there are any numbers but the price on dinners, like that was weird. How do you do that? So if they're did see if you see that they're kind of dumb, that might be a deal breaker, or they're kind of silly or like oblivious or something, that might be a little bit of a deal breaker on a first date. All right, let's see what else. All right. Danielle says, I hate it when women expect the man to pay. I mean, it's just food, for goodness sake. If you're gonna judge, so if you might be on the wrong channel, Danielle, because the men on this channel, they actually play their role and they pay for dates, and there's really no debate about it. If you can't afford to pay for the food for a woman, you don't deserve to date her. So you can either go pay date a man so you could split the check with him, or you could stay by yourself and eat by yourself, or maybe you could find a pick me girl who wants to go 50-50 with you, but she's probably not going to be the true woman that you desire. But if you do want to date a woman that you desire, you're going to have to come up out them pockets, okay? So I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news for you. But most of the men on this channel already know what's up, and they know that that's not no big issue, and they expect to play their role, and they expect the woman to play her feminine, beautiful role, and you guys come with that nice vibe to the dinner. So if you still, that's fundamentals. If you don't know that, like, you're gonna have to go back to element dating 101 and maybe go back in my videos and go watch that. But that's not up for debate today. So anyway, we're back to deal breakers on first dates. Maybe that is a deal breaker. Maybe we do need to bring that up. Maybe people don't know. If you out on a date, ladies, and some guy's trying to make you go 50-50 or split the dinner, get up and walk out. Get up, take a sip of your water and say, "Oh, excuse me 1 second," and go to hell home. You don't pay for dates, especially not first ones. Now, if you're talking about a 23-year-old, college student, and you guys are going Dutch because you're both college students, okay, I could possibly see that. But if you're talking about a grown ass man and you on a grown ass date and you a grown ass woman and he trying to make you pay half of this grown ass dinner, take a sip of your water or your wine and excuse yourself and go home. Or qualify the date beforehand to make sure that you are dating the caliber of man that would not even think to invite a woman out without having the funds to cover the occasion. All right? Standards. We talked about black women and dating standards on this channel. I think it was day 3 of the 7-day challenge. It's the Kells Collective Challenge. Go back and watch that video if you still sleep on these standards. Come on now. All right, let's see what else is in the what's in the comments. Okay. Um oh my God, guys who ask probing offensive questions but say they're just joking. Yes, I agree with you. Came 123. That is so true. Like I can when they sometimes guys want to ask some questions like this is not the only thing that comes to mind when you say this is two things come to mind. When they, and it's, the first one's not so offensive, but the second one, black people, I'm sorry, not black people, people always try to overstep when it comes to black women and black women's beauty. So I'll explain that, but let me say the first one. The first one is when somebody's trying to probe for your age. And then instead, they want to ask you all kind of backwards ways, like trying to get around, trying to ask you your age. And it's just like, so you want to know my age? Or, well, I don't have to reveal that to you on the first date. Like, I am what I look like. Like, I'm well over 21. You're not going to get a statutory rape charge, okay? So when we get further along, I'll let you know my age. But right now, I don't have to lay out my resume for you. So you do have to know yesterday's video or the day, but not yesterday's because yesterday's was a short video. But the day before, we talked about ways of turning the conversation out of interview mode and turning it into sexy. Let's talk about our passions. Let's talk about what makes our heart skip a beat. So that's one of those questions that you could learn to turn the conversation if you're not ready to reveal your age right at that moment, or if you don't want the conversation to go into the super interviewee type of way. Another thing that people like to try black women on is they want to ask about your beauty, what you have on in terms of your beauty. So they want to ask, oh, is that your real hair? Or are those your real lashes? Or is this that? Or is that? Or, or anything like that. Hey, Alan Chica, thank you for coming. I haven't seen you before. Hey, girl, come on in. Hey, Kenyon, oh, you're back. Hey. So they want to ask you about your hair, or they want to ask you about your nails, or they want to ask you some probing questions that they would never think to ask another woman or another lady. And so I don't really know why people feel like they can overstep with black women, but you have to know how to curb those little probing questions, those offensive probing questions. Like, somebody says, "Oh, are your lashes real? They're so beautiful. I love your lashes." And they all up in your beauty regime, and they don't even really know you like that. You can curve them by saying, "Oh my God, do you like them? And do you love them? They are long, aren't they? Yes." And change the subject. You don't have to answer anybody probing into your business at all. But I do agree that those probing weird kind of questions, like, how many sexual partners have you had? None of you men, none ya. You hear me? Like, not you. So you know that for sure. You know what I mean? Like those kind of probing, I can imagine those kind of probing questions would be total deal breakers and total turnoffs on a first date. So I agree with that. Came 1, 2, 3. What else are deal breakers, non-starters for love on first dates? Let's see. All right. What else are some probing questions that they just use as joking? She said, "Yes, Wolfgang Pucks. He was serious about it." I don't understand how he could be serious. Maybe he was trying to get out of the date and tried to get out of the date by being an ass. Because, like, how do you look on a menu? Maybe he can't read. Maybe he couldn't read. Maybe he was, like, illiterate or something. Because, like, how do you look on a Wolfgang Puck menu and then order a number 5? He couldn't read, clearly, or something. That's really, really weird. None your damn business, Island Chica says. A real man would never ask those questions on a first date. I mean, those are things that, I guess they come out in conversation later, but you have to, there's some elegance about getting to know people. And so some of those things, if you like someone's, I don't know, people have a tendency, specifically about your comment came, is like when people have a tendency to see something beautiful on a black woman, they feel that it's their liberty or their right to question them about it, as if innate beauty is unnatural or something. It's really weird. And I'm not saying that to have a complex about it, because I don't, but it is weird. So when you see, it's almost like if you see like a white woman with these big fake breasts, and they sit up on top of their chest, and you know that they're fake, like you kind of know they're fake. Nobody ever goes around and says, "Oh my God, I love your tits. Are they real?" Like nobody, you know what I mean? Like nobody does that. But with black women, they'll be like, "Oh my God, I love that. Oh, is that real?" And wanting to probe into your beauty secrets. Stay in your lane, slow your roll. You don't have liberty over this, okay? So definitely a deal breaker. Today, just to remind you guys, today is day 7 of the It's Kells Collective 7-day challenge, where I broadcast live for you guys right here on my YouTube channel 7 days in a row, taking your dating drama, your dating tea, your dating comments, anything you want to talk about dating related, that you email into me at itskellscollective@gmail.com. I scan the Gmail box, I look at the subject lines, and I pick the most juiciest, most interesting topics to come on and read to you guys live candid. You get my live candid feedback, but you not only get my live candid feedback, you get the live candid feedback of those on the live today, just like the comments that you are hearing and reading now. And everybody gets to chime in. And so it's not only what I'm saying, but it's with the collective wisdom of the It's Kells community. We had a writer write in, Belinda Joy, writing in about deal breakers, non-starters, and red flags on first dates. And for her, she mentioned about 4. She mentioned somebody who was a cheater, who mentions that they never been in a relationship, that they never cheated on somebody. She mentioned bad table manners. She mentioned cheap. We already had somebody in the comments being cheap with dates and stuff already tonight. And she mentioned men that are on the DL, on the down low. So I asked you guys, like, how do you know if some guys, so we went down the line, and we mentioned already earlier in this broadcast, we already mentioned a whole bunch of red flags and deal breakers. And for me, the biggest thing is hygiene, teeth, and I look hard on a man's shoes, and I like men with nice watches. Like, that's not a deal breaker. Like, that's the opposite of a deal breaker. But if I look at your watch and it's not telling the correct time, why you got that watch on? Why you flogging? Why you flogging? Like, do you guys know what flogging is? Like, flogging was like an old school Miami term that means like trying to show out but can't quite make it. So why you flogging? That's a deal breaker for me. I talked about men in London, how they would be beautiful and then their teeth will be jacked up or their breath will be kicking. Total red flag, non-starter, deal breaker. What about if their picture or how they describe themselves is not exactly how they actually look, or they're massively overweight? I remember last week in one of our videos, a commenter said that, oh, catfish. Go If you go back and look at our videos, and the one that was talking about being catfished, a commenter on that video said that she was online dating, and then she met up with a guy, and the dude was like 100 pounds bigger than what the pictures were online, and that he begged her to still go out on dates with him because they had been talking, and she essentially had been catfished by him because now he's 100 pounds bigger. Can you imagine that? So that's a first date. That would be a first date deal breaker for me. You can't misrepresent yourself, because the relationship then is starting out on a lie, right? Like, what kind of relationship starts on a massive lie like that? You know what I mean? And then on top of that, clearly you have some issues that you need to work on. You got to work on yourself before you could be out here in this dating game finding any success. You know what I mean? So if you're 100 pounds overweight, bruh, that's a problem. Like, you have some emotional problems, or health issues that as well that you need to deal with as well, too. Oh, what other deal breakers did we talk about? We talked about, speaking ill of baby mamas, speaking ill of family members or friends, gossiping, talking bad about people. We also talked about if somebody is the curse, like they can't string a sentence together without cursing up a storm. Deal breaker, red flag on first dates. Or if they treat the server bad, or they're a bad tipper, like they don't be wanting to tip, but they want to go out and eat out. You can't eat. This is America. Like, there's some places. My nose always start itching when I start talking a lot. Anyway, sorry. This is America. Like, you gotta, if you're going out to dinner, you gotta tip. And if you're not gonna tip, you can't really go. So it's a little embarrassing and like a turn off that if you're on a first date and tipping, it comes time to tip, and they won't be stingy with their little coin, that might be something you can get over, and you can talk about. Say, like, hey, what's up with you and the tipping? You know what I mean? It might be something that you could say. But I would not, I don't even know if I would bring it up. I would just note it and then be like, I don't know if I want to go out with this person again, because they seem stingy. And if that's how they behave on the first date, imagine how they're going to behave when you're in a full-on relationship with them. They're going to be stingy. What other red flags did we talk about? I think in the comments talked about being possessive. And I told the story of the first date guy who accused me of flirting with the doggone server on the first date. You already trying to chin check me about my behavior? Possessive much? You know what I mean? So I was like, nope, red flag on the play. The yellow card, we ain't going no further. So yeah, I think those are all the things that we talked about that were deal breakers on the first date. Do you guys have any other deal breakers? What are some other deal breakers that you notice on first dates that are non-starters? I mean, listen, we can't get over this, so we might as well call it quits right now. Are there such things? Are we being too picky? Should we give people more chance to reveal themselves? Or are there specific things that you just cannot get past on that first date? I'm going to jump into the comments because I see some of them coming in. And chime in, guys. Let me know. You guys are quiet tonight. I know it's Saturday night, but come on in and jump in the comments. Announce yourself. One, let me know you're here so I can say hi. And two, let me know what your deal breakers are. And also, how do you know if a guy's on the DL? What are some signs that a guy is on a DL? Because Belinda Joy said that was one of her major deal breakers. So how do you know if a guy's on the DL? Let me jump into the comments. Tomiko says, must be clean with straight teeth, nice watch. Okay, so that's what you're looking for. So if he's not clean, if his teeth are crooked, or he got a beat up watch, those are deal breakers for you. Okay, is that it? Is there anything else? And then let's see. So true. Island Chica says, so true. Okay, you guys are super, super quiet tonight. I think I gave you all my deal breakers for the first date. Some little tiny chivalry things. Let's talk a little bit about chivalry, because I do like a chivalrous manly man. So I like when a man knows to walk on the correct, which side of the curb he should walk on. Like when you're walking down the street with a woman, that the man always stands on the side of the curb closest to the street. Like those little tiny things a man should know. Or opening the doors, pulling out chairs, helping her get in and out of her coat. Those are sexy, manly things. And I'm not going to say that, I won't say that they're total deal breakers, but as a woman, if you've been on some high caliber dates, there's certain treatment that you get used to, or you start to notice, like, oh, he always makes sure he's on that side of the curb, or he always sits facing the entrance of the restaurant so that he can see everything that's going around on when we're eating. Manly, he knows, he's in the provider protector role. This is a man that knows the certain nuances of being kind of this elegant, high standard man. So when you start dating and you're dating, you start leveling up, like we talked about in our video, Black Women Leveling Up. When you start leveling up on your dates, these are some things that you start to notice. So I wouldn't say that they're deal breakers if you don't see them, but you do start to miss them when you've had them, and then you continue dating and then you don't have them. So I think for the guys, those things that you should be cognizant of as well. For the guys, what are some red flags and deal breakers for the ladies? I would say if she didn't reveal that she had a whole bunch of children, that might be I know for a fact if a guy goes on a date with a woman and she didn't before, maybe they were talking before or something like that, and this is the first time they're getting together, and he had asked her or something and she didn't reveal that she had children, that might be a deal breaker. So for some guys, I wouldn't insist that it must be a deal breaker, but it could possibly be a deal breaker. You know what I mean? Anything having to do with lying or misrepresenting the truth or misrepresenting how you look, those are kind of deal breakers on first dates. And a lot of times I find that if you see these little deal breakers, but you're like, okay, is it really a deal breaker, or am I being too picky? Am I doing the most? Maybe I should, we talked about this. Maybe I should lower my standards. Nobody's perfect. And you start nitpicking at your intuition about things and you continue on in a relationship, you're going to end up wanting to kick yourself later. You know what I mean? So you have to be careful that your intuition is not telling you red flag, red flag, red flag. You know what I mean? Another thing that men might find as deal breakers is that if she's not dressed properly, if she dressed in some hoochie mama tight, cheap Fashion Nova looking clothes, holes and everything, every single thing out, instead of this, a sexy, elegant woman, that might be a deal breaker for a guy. He might be like, okay, she not wifey material. She just side chick material, or she just hookup material, but she definitely not wifey material. Or a woman, same thing, misrepresentation of looks. She put up these gorgeous pictures on her dating profile. Excuse me, just want to make sure my lipstick's okay. She put up these gorgeous pictures on her dating profile, and when she come, her head lopsided, like, or something, like she cropped it where she looks like super sexy like this, and then she ain't got this eye, you know what I mean? Like some craziness, something like that. What other things would be deal breakers for men on first dates? I think hygiene, we talked about that, good breath, smelling good. You gotta smell good. You gotta be so fresh, so clean. Like those are like, I'm surprised that I even have to talk about this stuff, like mention this, but you really do. Like you have to smell good, and not like you put cologne on frowsy, okay, frowsy body, or your clothes are not pressed. Okay, men and your grooming habits, and women as well, like you gotta look good, you know what I mean? You have to look sharp, and everybody knows that like men are visual creatures, but women are as well. So you want to come to your date looking fresh, clean, nice shoes, nice watch, pressed clothes, trimmed up, hair done, and not too tight and not too cheap. If you're gonna go sexy, go expensive, because the expensive sexy clothes fit well, and so it looks like pricey, but you look sexy. But if you wear them cheap clothes, you can't wear those because it's gonna show. And respect for yourself and things like that. Those are like huge, deal breakers. If you clearly don't care for yourself, then how is somebody going? That's like a red flag on a first date, right? All right, so I'm going to jump in the comments for one last time, and then we are going to jump for the evening. Our last day of the 7-day challenge. Now, you guys might see me come back on in the near future, because we do have quite a bit of emails in the box, and I do want to make sure we get through them. And I'll continue on this series, but for round 2 of the 7-day challenge, today is the last day. We made it again through 7 days. Good looking out, guys. You guys really sent in those emails to my It's Kells Collective at Gmail box. And it allows me to bring the topics that you guys want me to talk about, not just me rambling on about the topics that I pick, but topics that you guys really want to know about in this crazy dating world. One more time in the comments, and then we're going to call it a night for Saturday night, because y'all need to go out and go get some night air. Like I said last night, no Friday nights in. Also, no Saturday nights in. Try to go out for a little bit at least. One more jump into the comments, and then we're going to call it for the night, okay? All right, so speak now in the comments or forever hold your peace. All right, let's see what we're saying. He's married but separated. Oh, me and my wife just going through some problems right now, but we ain't together right now. We not together right now. I'm married, but we not together right now. We've been separated. What? No. Red flag, deal breaker. We can't talk, bro. You married. You have to deal with that emotional baggage and drama before you trying to start a new relationship. And I guess women can do the same thing. It's like a woman's like, oh, me and my husband separated, or maybe they're still dealing with their baby daddy. They're still, we talked about this earlier, drama with the baby daddy. Deal breaker on a first date. All right. When they say just having fun, not looking for anything too serious. Oh, they just want to hook up. That's code for I'm just trying to get it in and get gone, pretty much. Small Smile 360 said table manners, the way he eats. So does he eat with his mouth all open, or or does she eat with her mouth all hanging open, and all of that, or is there some class to it, or table manners? It never crossed my mind that I would have to look out for a guy being on the DL. That means secretly he's gay, right? Yes, DL means down low, and it means that they're secretly gay. So the reason why I bring that up as a deal breaker is because Belinda Joy, our person that wrote in, whose email I read earlier in the broadcast, she said that was one of her deal breaker non-starters, is that any indication that the guy has a little bit of DL thing going on. And she's from Wisconsin, so I find it weird that she would have to really think about that, but I do find that people who are from Atlanta think about that quite a bit, but not so much any other part of the world. But Belinda Joy is from Wisconsin, and she said she thought about it. So I was asking you guys, what are some indications that somebody might be on the DL? Do you actually look out for that on the first date, or what? But that was one of Belinda's red flags. But yeah, I never really, I guess I kind of look out for it, but that's never been in the forefront of my mind. So it's kind of interesting to hear that one of our It's Kells Collective folks has that as one of their deal breakers and red flags. Anyway, so tonight, guys, we were talking about some of those red flags, deal breakers, non-starters on first date. On first dates. We're already 51 minutes into the broadcast, so I think we pretty much ran the gamut tonight on anything that could be considered a red flag. So yeah, if you're just joining in, rewatch the broadcast and you'll get all the drama, all the tea that we were talking about earlier in the broadcast. But I want to thank you guys for joining me on a Saturday night. I know you have a million other things that you could be doing right now, but for you guys to be joining me here on the It's Kells Collective last day of the 7-day challenge, that's really dope, and I'm really appreciative. And if you could do me a favor and smash that like button, because it helps me get noticed and it helps me know which of these videos, which topics you guys really chat for and really like, so I can produce more content that you guys like, because that's what I'm here to do. Anyway, I do these videos so you're not out here alone in this sometimes crazy dating world. If this is your first time here, I would love to have you subscribe. And if you're a returning viewer, good looking out. Thank you guys for riding with me 7 days in a row for the 7-day challenge. This is round 2. So now we've produced 14 live broadcasts answering your dating drama, your dating tea, and everything in between, having some really interesting story times and conversations. And I feel like I've gotten to know you guys a lot better, because a lot of you guys have been watching all of the broadcasts, and I just super appreciate that. And I feel like you guys have gotten to know me a little bit better too, coming on here live every day. So anyway, I hope you guys have enjoyed round 2 of the 7-day challenge. We have 14 videos, live broadcasts in the It's Kells Collective playlist for this 7-day challenge and last time 7-day challenge. So go back and have a watch and like the ones you like, so I know which content you guys like the best. That is it for this Saturday night. I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you for joining me, and keep emailing me and let me know how you like the challenge, and just engage with me. I super duper like to talk to you guys. All right. Anyway, guys, thank you. Bye.